Yes. Working in retail. This is the beginning of most people's journey in their career. Most of the time, people start at fast food. You know, you're 15, 16, you're starting to drive. You're in that age bracket where you're in high school. You know, you got a couple friends. You're like, you know what? I need some dough. I need some money. So I'm going to go work fast food. And then you realize that fast food is literally the worst job that you could be working. So then you decide, how about retail? Let's go into retail. You know, it's just working at the store. And it was good. Like, I'm not going to say it was super bad, but I was also like, this low-key kind of suck. The main thing that people don't understand about retail jobs is that most of the time, you have to sell credit cards, memberships, whatever. And it's kind of a scam. It's low-key kind of a scam. Most credit cards are like 10% back. And then most of the time when you miss a payment, it's like a 30% APR-ish. Sometimes they're higher, sometimes they're a little bit lower. I had to scam people into buying things that they didn't want to buy. Most companies that produce technology, so like Apple, Sony, who else? Sennheiser, any like audio or like TV companies, LG, anything like that. Best Buy has to pay full price for most of those, especially Apple. Like, Best Buy makes no money selling Apple products. Therefore, Best Buy has to compensate for that. So they sell memberships and credit cards. And every single transaction, whether that is a $10 transaction, a $30 transaction, I have to offer them a $50 or a $180 membership. I don't know if this is the same thing now, but this is what I had to do. There was a moment in time too where I worked at Best Buy full time. I was in school at the same time, so I was doing 2 days of school, so Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then the rest of the week I was working at Best Buy. Good old Best Buy. And that was exhausting. The funny thing is too that Best Buy employees, we don't make commission, so I can go in that day, I can sell $10,000 worth of TVs, and then you have the employee that sells maybe like $500 to $600 worth of stuff. You know, they're just selling random garbage, and they still get paid the same. We don't make any more money than people that underperform. Problem number 2 is that we get tracked on every single thing that we sell, and you get tracked on how many credit cards you put out and memberships. It's awful, and there's no incentives for any of this. So your manager will come up to you and be like, hey, I noticed your credit cards and your memberships were down for the month. And you're like, oh, yeah, sorry. Like, most of the customers I talk to, you know, they don't want like a 10th credit card in their wallet, or most of the time I'm selling like a $300 sale and they don't really care about the $30 that they get back with signing up with a credit card. Some of them have really crappy credit scores. You know, there's all these dependents, like everything depends on something, and then you get blamed for it. You can have a salesperson. They can be really, really good at sales, but at the end of the day, it is up to the customer. You can make them want the product all you want, but at the end of the day, it's their money. They can decide what they want to do with their money. As a salesperson, you can't be like, oh no, you actually have to spend $500 on this item. You can't do that, obviously. So when we would get tracked on our performance that way, like, it was not fair. You'd get tracked super heavily, very meticulously. The other fun thing is that depending on where you were in the sales floor, you would sell different amounts of things. So during back to school season, in the computer section, when everybody's trying to get a MacBook, Karen comes in with her little kid that's going to college, and she's like, oh, I need a MacBook for school. And you're like, fantastic. You can sling those MacBooks in back to school season, right? However, in the dead of winter, or like during football season, in the middle of a Sunday, say you're selling in computers, you're not going to sell shit. There's nothing that you'll be able to sell because no one's coming in to be like, hey, I want a MacBook on football Sunday. It's like, that ain't gonna happen. Say you're in home theater around football season, like a couple days before big football games, great. People come in, they want TVs, awesome. And then you'll have those guys that can walk in and they're like, yeah, I would like a $10,000 setup for Super Bowl Sunday, right? Fantastic, I can sell you that. But like in the middle of summer when everybody's outside, no one's buying home theater stuff anyway. There's all these variables that are involved in sales, and it gets very annoying when you get tracked and like people tell you to be consistent. Like, sales is not consistent. It never will be. The idea of like working at retail and like especially Best Buy is fun. I get to sit here and help people figure out what they want for technology, and that's how I treated the job. I was never like, oh, you need the most expensive product to achieve what you're trying to achieve. And then there's people that are those people, and then they suck at sales, because then the person just ends up leaving because they're like, hey, I wanted to come in and spend $500. You're showing me this $2,000 thing, and I don't need that. My favorite thing at Best Buy is when someone comes in and they're like, hey, I would love an 85-inch TV. And you're like, all right. I start showing them some 85-inch TVs, or asking them a lot of questions too, like, hey, where's this going? Probably in a basement. Sometimes it's in the living room. Hey, if you're putting it in the living room, is there a lot of lights? Is that gonna hit the TV? And that kind of determines if they want like a mini LED, OLED, full array, LED, whatever TV type they want. At the end of the sale, we sell them the 85-inch TV, and then you forget to ask them what they're driving. Then they pull up with a Toyota Prius. They try to fit an 85-inch TV into a Toyota Prius. I don't know what they were thinking when they showed up, and they were like, hey, can't you just strap it to the top of the TV? No. And that day I learned always to ask, hey, what are we driving today? Like an SUV, a sedan, a tank. All in all, Best Buy, cool place to work. If you ever want to work at Best Buy, go for it. It's a good experience. You learn how to talk to people. You learn how to be a better person. You learn a lot about technology. It's very educational. However, the manager is just riding your butt the whole time about how many memberships and credit cards you put out each month is awful. For instance, when I was working full-time, I was pushing out around $200,000 a month in sales, and I think I had like around 20 credit cards and around 30 memberships out. And this was like 3/4 of the way through the month. And my manager comes up to me and she's like, hey, can I come talk to you for a second? I'm like, sure. Take it. It is 9 a.m. I just showed up for my shift. Then she pulls me aside in the warehouse and starts like yelling at, or not yelling. She pulls me aside in the warehouse and starts harshly talking about how I need to do better with memberships. She was mad because they weren't like even, and that she wanted them to be even. I've only been working here for a month and I'm already your best salesman. What is the deal here? And then when I eventually got fired or let go, I was only working weekends at that point because I had a different job, and they didn't even tell me. I like showed up to Best Buy one week and I was trying to buy some camera stuff and use my employee discount that, first of all, does not fantastic, and it didn't work. And I was like, that's really weird. So I texted my boss. I was like, hey, did I get let go? And she was like, oh yeah, the manager was supposed to call you. And I was like, well, he never did. And she's like, oh, like whatever. She said I could reapply if I wanted to, but we're good. In general, working for retail is not the worst way to go. However, if they are really strict about tracking your credit cards and your memberships, and you don't have any incentive, red flag. If you want to work at Best Buy ever, be prepared to be tracked on literally everything, and then be discouraged because they don't think you're good enough. And with that concludes my rant about working in retail. Post-production me. If you want to hear more funny stories or interesting stories about times working at Best Buy, or like customer stories or anything like that, let me know down below. But yeah, peace out. Have a good day.